We're nearly there. So first and foremost, on behalf of the society, welcome. Thank you all so much for coming. At our AGM, I said we were a growing society, and every night we prove it even more so, and the attendance tonight is fantastic. I know the subject matter, and for those who have had the privilege to be in Kilcarn in August, we know what's in front of us, and the preparations, the planning, and the deliverance that night will be the same as tonight for Christopher. Fantastic job. I'm really looking forward to it. I suppose local history is so much more important than, I suppose, Johnstown is just a part of Navan Waterstown, and it encompasses us all. I was just thinking coming in this evening, how I suppose it's all connected. There's a lady at the moment doing research, and I know she's probably in contact with a few people, but she's from Australia and she's living in England and she's in America as well. But she's researching the Kelly family from music camp. And so we didn't realise there were so many Jews Kellys. And we started scratching the surface. We always thought there was only one Kelly family, and that was Father Joe Paul's lady. But then we realised there's a harness maker, and his family is a harness maker. And she's gone into depth. But it's just incredible, and how she would love to be here tonight. But we're fortunate that Brian is going to record it, and so is Pauline, and we'll be able to use that and send it to her wherever, whether she's in America or in Australia. So it's just a wonderful resource to have. So without further ado, I say thanks again. We're looking forward to this. We may have a question and answer session afterwards, which will prove very well. So just if you haven't, a few little things in case I forget later on, just the attendance sheet. If you haven't signed it on the way in, you might do so on the way out, and you might talk to our membership secretary, who's very eager to top a certain number this year if you haven't done so already. Without further ado, Christopher Lynch and History of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Basil. After that introduction, things are not going to get any better, so maybe we'll go now. But the going is good. Thank you. This basically, in summary, is it's a talk about 3 churches and a font, not 4 weddings and a funeral. It's St. Stephen's Church itself, and it's about a precursor to Stephen's Church, and it's about the antecedent to Stephen's Church. And then the jewel in the crown is the medieval font. And I didn't do slides because the period of time that we're discussing, if we took the font and the church itself out, the rest would be pictures of fields. So it's probably easier for me to try and make the words fit the pictures. So good evening.
Well, by the way, just phone ladies and gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind just turn off those phones. Very distracting for this picture. Thank you.
St. Stephen's Church and Cemetery, Kilcarn, Navan, County Meath. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming to reflect on and celebrate the rich history of this wonderful sanctuary of our heritage, and most importantly, to be mindful of so many parishioners who lived and died in the parish, which this hallowed ground has served for 832 years. And which it continues to do to this day. The church and the cemetery are very much integral parts of the fabric of modern-day Johnstown parish. And hopefully with community spirit and with the help of local politicians, they will continue to serve the parish for many more years into the future. In the remembrance of the lives and the work of all those people of more than 8 centuries, we pay tribute to our ecclesiastical and temporal forebears, who established this place of worship, to those who saved the church and its fabric in times of great peril, and more recently to those who brought this venerable ruin and its hallowed ground back to its present condition. On a balmy evening last August, as Pascal said, during Heritage Week, I had the honour and privilege of addressing the history of St Stephen's Church and Cemetery for Heritage Week at the invitation of Francis Dean within the cemetery itself. And now I thank you and Canis for the privilege of recounting this golden heritage tonight for the Navan District Historical Society. I just sincerely hope that my words may do justice to what has already been written and what is known about this special place, and that hopefully the messenger will live up to the message. The honour and desire to succeed in this mission comes from someone whose family has been associated with this church and cemetery for well over 300 years that we know, and probably for many years before that time. And this concern is a vote of respect for the very valuable references of the history, old and more recent, of this place and its environs that have been recorded and saved for posterity by many eminent chroniclers and historians, including those from the very erudite ranks of your own society and of the Meath Archaeological and Historical Society, for whose articles and papers I am deeply grateful. I have used these documents, along with my own memories as a Johnstown parishioner for the first 25 years of my life, as a basis for my words this evening, and upon which I will attempt to enhance in some way, with some new information perhaps. And in the fervent hope that I will not leave anyone out, I refer to the following excellent references to which I am indebted for compiling this address. A gem of a document called Johnstown Parish, Seen and Heard, from 1985, compiled by two prominent members of the local ICA Guild, Catherine O'Brien, my own aunt, and Annie Delaney, Olympian Ronnie Delaney's aunt. Two wonderful synopses of Kilcarn, the 800th anniversary of St Stephen's Church in Kilcarn Cemetery 1992 and Kilcarn Cemetery 2006, carefully collated by local parishioner and antiquarian Michael O'Brien, I'm sure well known to many of you, long-time champion of St Stephen's Church and Cemetery. The classic volumes of the Diocese of Meath 1862 and 1867 by Dean Anthony Cogan from Slane, the Diocesan Histories by Father James Braley and C.O. Curran, and the Parish of Johnstown, Riach to Me 1962 by Waterstown priest Father Joe Paul Kelly. The superlative screen on the early Normans by Elizabeth Hickey 1994, and a number of articles by her which were published in the Meath Chronicle in 1981. The iconic The Medieval Fonts of Meath by the renowned scholar Helen M. Rowe, from which a very readable summary pamphlet, The Kilcarn Font, the Great Apostle Font, was produced by Reverend Michael Cahill, present parish priest of Johnstown and Waterstown, who has lent great support to this paper. Excerpts from some Johnstown parochial records and Meath Chronicle newspaper articles and local knowledge provided by Johnstown parishioner and antiquarian, as I mentioned earlier, Michael O'Brien. Tape recordings from the 1960s and original parochial records provided by Martin Oakes, whose family, the Oakeses and formerly the Casey's farm, has mayorned St Stephen's Church and Cemetery for many generations. The very helpful start of Navan and Drogheda libraries and Irish place names, Flanagan and Flanagan, 1994. It was very fitting that last August a large attendance gathered in the townland of Kilcarn on the evening of the 15th of August, which was the feast day of the Assumption of Our Lady. As a successor parochial church to Kilcarn, situated in the nearby townland of Johnstown, is dedicated to the Nativity of Our Lady, the feast day of which is the 8th of September. Kilcarn Church is dedicated to St Stephen, however, regarded as the first Christian martyr, and his parishioners would have observed the 26th of December as their feast day then. St Stephen's name is still proudly carried on this day in the dedication of a number of schools in the parish to his name and his memory. As my old classics teacher, Father Welch, and I know there's a few of his students here today, well known to both the parishes of Johnstown and Navan in his time, would say, always start with first principles. So it is important to establish the location of the Kilcarn Church and Cemetery, its environs and its association with the local community for over 800 years. St Stephen's Church and Cemetery is situated in the townland of Kilcarn, which can be spelt Kilcarn, Kilcarne, or Kilcairn. And I will discuss that a little bit in more detail later on. So in the townland of Kilcarn, originally comprising Little and Great Kilcarn, in the barony of Skryne and in the county of Meath, approximately 6 kilometres from where we are sitting here. The townland is now considered just as Kilcarn and is a part of the Union of Parishes of Johnstown and Walterstown. This union, which was established in 1831, now has a modern church in each parish and also has many ruined ecclesiastical sites throughout the joint jurisdiction. And we're here to pay respects to a sacred place and other associated sites and to recall its foundation, its survival and its restoration. The union of the two parishes is currently bordered by the parishes of Navan, Beaupark, Skryne and Kilmessan. According to Dean Anthony Cogan in 1867, the following ancient parishes are absorbed into this union: Athlumney, Kilcarn, Follistown, Dowdstown, Monktown, Staffordstown, Temple Kieran and part of Lismullen. The parochial house and lands, originally approximately 22 acres, at Pastor Hill, Kilcarn, was at one stage in its history leased by the Protestant rector of Navan Parish, Reverend Philip Barry, to Dr. Logan, who was Bishop of Meath at the time, under a lease forever, and dated appropriately the 26th day of December 1826. This property then passed into the hands of the Ford family of Kilcarn, where they lived, which is now Kilcarn Stud, where Pat Kelly and her famous horses live. In the 1870s, Dr. Thomas Nulty, who was a native of Fenner in Oldcastle, and then Bishop of Meath, attempted to incorporate the parish of Johnstown into Navan Parish and to merge Walterstown into Beaupark Parish, which would basically have obliterated the parish of Johnstown and Walterstown. The bishop wished to have the convents of Mercy and Loretto, which were situated in the townland of Athlumney, within the parish of Navan and under his control. This was not heartily welcomed by the Johnstown and Walterstown parishioners, who were relieved when the Ford family refused to give the parochial house and lands to Dr. Nulty because of the earlier lease arrangement by Reverend Barry. A compromise was reached when most of the townland of Athlumney was ceded to Navan. Athlumney House, once home of the Huguenot Medge family, and its lands, subsequently owned by the McIntaggart family and then the Farrell family before it was bought by the state, remained within Johnstown Parish. Thus, the Union of Parishes of Johnstown and Walterstown, incorporated in 1831, remained for the most part intact. Reverend Barry, who was a member of a prominent Protestant family from Boyne Hill, Kilcarn, is interred just inside the gates of Kilcarn Cemetery. The significance of the lands of Athlumney House remaining in the parish is very pertinent now, following the seismic increase in the parochial population in that corner of the parish in recent years. What remained for generations, until relatively recently, only 2 parish priests ago, as a parish of 300 families, which hadn't changed in generations, is now a parish of 4,000 families. So the current situation is that what I've just described, and now we want to look back in time. For the purpose of this address, emphasis will be placed on number 1, St. Stephen's Church and Cemetery. Number 2, a pre-normal ecclesiastical site known as the Black Church. And number 3, St. Stephen's Church successor at Johnstown. I will refer to other townlands of relevance to them as they naturally arise in relation to St. Stephen's Church and Cemetery. Our story then is one of Irish historical change, initial religious domination and then suppression, denominational change, ecclesiastical and temporal property rights, royal and local patronage, societal and community customs, but most importantly, the lives and deaths of past parishioners. It is a national story of invitations to French monks and knights, and it is a local story of initial care, respect and welfare, then one of wanton destruction, disrespect and neglect, and then a welcome return of care, respect and welfare, right up to this present day. The end result is a heritage to be cherished by this generation and to be handed safely over in an informed manner to the next one. The story is based on national and local historical fact, the written and spoken word, which has been saved for us, anecdotal evidence and lore, a little bit of legend, and it is a microcosm of Irish and European national history over more than 8 centuries. So, let us envisage life in the late 12th century. The old Gaelic order of chieftains, local kingdoms and high kings was swiftly and inexorably undergoing massive change by the consequences of the invitation of a very disgruntled and weak King of Leinster to the astute and powerful Norman King Henry II of England to invade Ireland in order to save the Leinster King's own territory in Ireland from the clutches of his territorial enemies there. The resultant and overwhelming military supremacy by the Norman armies, with their all-conquering knights and most importantly their horses, and the strategic appeasement of King Henry to keep his knights and his military machine in check by granting generous and valuable swaths of rich Irish lands to his knights in feudal style, it changed Irish history, temporal and ecclesiastical, forever. This territorial patronage involved the granting of the old kingdom of Meath in 1172 by Henry II to Hugh de Lacy, who then became Lord not only of Meath but also Lord of Santry, and who in turn granted baronies within Meath to his own knights and their followers in a very sophisticated and successful feudal structure and hierarchy. Soon, the temporal feudal system began to work hand in hand with the existing ecclesiastical structure of monks and monasteries, which structure was well established from the time of St. Patrick and the Christian civilization, and with their associated churches, monasteries and graveyards. These two bodies of movers